Hey everybody, hope you all are doing well and welcome back. And today we're going to do a video that I've been planning for quite some time at this point, and I'm just kind of, sort of, finally getting around to it because over the last couple of years, presumably because of the bourbon craze, and with so many new people jumping into the whiskey world, myself included, Costco, known for their discount liter bottles of whiskey filled with unspecified, unrecognized, and sometimes uninspired whiskey, has taken notice too, and actually came out with the higher end bourbons that even the actual producers are proud to put their names on, side by side with Kirkland. And since I've been picking all these bottles up each time I see them, and I think I have the total set for the time being, I've been saving them up for a day like today where we're going to try to drink them all side by side and see how they end up stacking up. Now, before we get to the video, if you like these videos, if you like the wanders, if you like the hauls, the reviews, the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff we got cooking up for you, and now including these new drink throughs, and we have a bunch more scheduled for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it does really help the channel to grow, and again, we are so thankful for that. But also, you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays and sometimes in between. All right, now, let's get down to the video. So for today's whiskey check, while we are getting warmed up, I think it'd only really be appropriate to start off with one of the original age statement Kirkland whiskeys. We're going to go with the Kirkland 7-year-old Tennessee whiskey, batch T1796. I believe it is from Dickel, if my research is correct, and it may or may not be. And other than that, I'm not really sure how we identify this one, but it is $18.99 from Costco, obviously. Anyway, so let's get a little bit of juice on it. Let's see if we can get a pop out of it. Oh, wait, turn it over first. Both sides. See if we can get a pop out of it. Nah, okay. Get a little bit of juice. Oh, yeah. And to whiskey. Because honestly, let's face it, you really can't drink too much of it. You can only just drink it too fast. Cheers. Bourbon-y. All right, so the way we're going to do this is going to be by price. So starting with the lowest cost price one first, and then moving our way up the line. Now, each of the bottles are going to be 1 liter bottles, so there's no distinction in that. And each of them are from the distillery at Barton's 1792. So it's the same distillery that you would get something like a 1792 bottle and bond from. Put that right there. And putting the name on here is a big step for kind of the traditional distillers that work with Costco, who normally kind of really choose to remain nameless, may it be from shame, or may it be to not compete with themselves, maybe not to appear like a sellout. I'm not really sure what the reason is, but it seems like a lot of that has changed in this specific case. So first up today is going to be the Kirkland small batch. And I really like the fact that they have made the effort to include a lot of the bottle specifics on the label here. So as you can see, the batch number on this one is 1,124. It is ABV'd at 46% or 92 proof. Obviously, it's 1 liter. It says Barton 1792 Master Distillers Selection, I guess, or Master Distillers. It is a non-age statement, which I think would be pretty cool if they came out with one that is an age statement. I don't know if it would be in a liter bottle or what the cost on it would be, because it'd probably be pretty pricey. But it would be cool, but this one doesn't have an age statement on it. And it has the mash bill of 74% corn, 18% rye, and 8% barley. The price that we ended up getting this one from Costco was the least expensive out of the three at $18.99, which is a smoking good deal for what it is. I guess we'll see how it tastes. So that is going to be the first of the Barton's 1792 small batch. So let's get this one open and see if we can get some juice. Oh, you know what? Need to get a glass here. So we'll go with the glass. See if we can get a pop on this one. Turn it to one side, turn it to the other. See if we can get a pop. So a little juice in there. Oh yeah. So that is Barton's small batch. Now for the mid-range bourbon from Kirkland, we have this Kirkland Bottle and Bond, and one of the things I really like about it on here is it says that it's bottle and bond in accordance with the U.S. government regulations. Like Uncle Sam was there bottling it with him. I guess he's kind of sort of was, but it really does remind me of like those tax forms you get in the mail that say super official tax business. If you don't open it up, you're going to get penalized and your whole life is going to be ruined. And then you open it up and it says, actually, this has nothing to do with the IRS, and it's totally just kind of an advertisement. Yeah, kind of like that. Except for these are actually have some sort of relationship with the government. And I guess the best part of the bottle and bond rules, first is that it's 1 liter. Also is that it is ABV'd at 50% or 100 proof, which again, very good, accordance with the government regulation. And I always like the bottle and bond because it's always good that you know that with bottle and bond, at least you know it's not made in a bathtub, in 1930 by bootleggers and gangsters. Anyways, you can also see that it gives us the warehouse number KY12, or maybe DSP KY12. Not really sure how to read that, but you can see that right there as well. We got this one for $23.99, of course, at Costco. And let's see if this one gives us a better pop than the small batch. Give it a twist. Let's see if we can get a pop here. Oh, a little bit better. And see if we can get a glass. Do the bottle and bond juice. There we go. Oh, I can get that one already. Yeah, that's nice. All right, so that is the Kirkland Bottle and Bond. Last up, and going to be the tippy top of the line that we're going to do today, is going to be this Kirkland single barrel. Now, it is also going to be a 1 liter bottle. It is also from Barton, 1792, as you can see there, the master distillers, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. But there are a couple distinctions here on the bottle. First is that it is a single bottle, obviously, which is apparent, but also is that the ABV is way, way, way higher at 60% ABV or 120 proof. There is not going to be an age statement on this, and in fact, there's no age statement on any of them, but it does bear the signature of Danny Kahn, the master distiller. So, thanks, Danny Kahn, I guess, right? That's kind of cool. Also, when we look at it side by side, we can really see there is a pretty distinct difference in the colors on the two. The single barrel being slightly darker than the bottle and bond, and then also being very, very much darker than on the small batch. If you take a look at that right there. That being said, we did end up getting this a single barrel at the highest price, which is also still pretty good at $29.99 from Costco. So let's see if we can get a pop on this one. All right, turn it over. See if we can get a pop. Oh, also okay. All right, it gets kind of better as it goes up the line. Get some juice here. Oh yeah, maybe a little extra on this one, huh? So that is going to be the Kirkland single barrel. All right, so we got them all poured out, and let's get a little bit on the nose, starting with this small batch. Let's give that a waft here. Wow. What you get is a very sweet, a very nutty, almost like a pecan pie filling scent. Wow, that actually smells pretty freaking amazing. There's definitely rye spice in there, and the nose, super full body, just very, very thick. Sort of giving a Buffalo Trace mash bill #2 vibe. So I guess it'd be like a Blanton's and a Hancock Reserve, the high rye version of it. Wow. There's also, the difference is that there's a lot of crushed peanut dust in there. And that, so, there is the high rye on the front side, but then kind of that Booker's style Jim Beam dusty peanuts on the back side of the nose. And coming back to it, it's almost like a cappuccino, like a milked coffee in there too. Wow. That is just way, way better than I would have expected the small batch to be on the nose. All right, so let's move up to the bottle and bond here. Let's see what we get. On the bottle bond, it is way more withdrawn than the small batch. It's definitely much less enveloping, almost like you're smelling it from across the room or kind of far away, or you just kind of caught it while it's on the wind. Wow. Yeah, it's just much more toned down. It lacks the sweetness, but it doesn't really give you a big step up in ABV as well. I mean, there's no ABV on the small batch. There's only very, very slightly here. The only one big difference between the two that I'm getting, aside from being more subdued, but on the actual nose, is a savory, like a corn-based chip, the Frito Scoops is what it is in there. Wow, that's really interesting. But overall, on the nose, definitely seems like a step down from the small batch. So that is the bottle and bond on the nose. Kind of unimpressed, to be honest. All right, lastly, let's get a little bit of nose on the single barrel. Yeah, and theoretically, this is supposed to be the most pure version of the lineup because it is exactly as it is coming out of the barrel. It's not polished. It's not kind of swerved or manipulated into something else like in the small batch. But again, it is more reserved than the small batch for sure. I get a much more noticeable ABV, which would make sense because it's way higher. But the sweetness really kind of covers up that additional ABV. Definitely not like in your face sweetness, but more kind of an innate sweetness. It does have that crushed peanuts. It does have the rye spice that kind of disappeared on the nose for the Bottle and Bond. And the ABV is going to play a little bit more outsized role than in the other two. It almost feels like the ABV is sort of enabling more of an amplification of some of the characters that the small batch has. So it definitely much more resembles the small batch than it does the Bottle and Bond, if you put those two together. Wait, mix these up. So that is on the nose, and I think if we had to choose one that I liked the most out of the nose, it's going to be the small batch. This one's going to be my favorite. And really, again, going back to it, wow, yeah, it's just a much more kind of bold, in-your-face on the nose, huh? Get it, face, nose. So clever. Than the other two as well. All right, so let's move on to the palate. And realistically, it's because although the nose is interesting and important, whiskey is for drinking. It's not for sniffing. Although it would probably make a pretty great cologne. This one definitely. You know, that is until you start getting pulled over because you smell like a liquor cabinet. Anyways, let's start with the small batch on the palate as it is the lowest ABV, and then we'll work our way up the line here. All right, so let's get a sip. Oh. You know what I get right up front? It's almost like a soapiness. Like I didn't clean the glass. No, it's the whiskey. It definitely has sort of a soapiness to it. That was not expected. It is quite thin, but again, still pretty good for $18.99. Let's be honest. And there's not a ton of personality. The ABV seems to present a lot more on the palate than what we got on the nose for the small batch, with those hints of peanut that we got on the nose and a lot more char that was not on the nose. All though, that being said, still a very impressive bourbon for $18.99. Now let's get the Bottle and Bond a whirl here. You know, it's actually really similar, but just the ABV, it isn't stronger per se. It just kind of lasts longer through the entirety of the sip. Still get like a strong peanut, but just not as much sweetness and not as much char. Both of those things seem to be toned down a little bit from the small batch. The rice spice starts to pop its head up there, kind of like a gopher. So you can kind of taste it there. It shows up, but it's not the driving flavor on the palate. It's not driving the train. So again, you know, the focus on the Bottle and Bond, it really seems to be like it's really going for more of an ABV presence, which kind of makes sense. And maybe a bit more thickness and body. So I get that as well. But it's still definitely in line with the family resemblance from the small batch. So Bottle and Bond, you know, it's definitely better on the palate than it was on the nose. All right, lastly, let's do the single barrel on the palate. Ooh, oh yeah, that is much, much smoother. I'm already thinking I should be buying a lot more of this. It's silkier. The ABV has a very nice kind of spice up front, all the way from the very beginning to the very, very end. And you get a lot more sweetness like you had with the small batch. But on the palate, on the single barrel, you get the rye spice, you get a much more thickness in there, and they all kind of pair very nicely, hand in glove with the ABV burn. I mean, this drinks well above its class. I can see why it is the hardest one to get, especially at $30. Wow. So on the palate, I mean, hands down, no questions asked. It's gotta be the single barrel as the one that comes out on top. Now for the finish, if we really focus on the finish, let's just kind of do a sip through here. Small batch. Bottle and Bond. Oh, single barrel. Yeah. So if we really focus on that finish on there, I mean, it's gonna parody the palate as far as which one is the best, because the small batch, it really doesn't have much of a finish. The Bottle and Bond, it does have a finish, but it's very short and very light. And the single barrel just kind of blows everything out of the water. It's just way, way, way better. So on the finish, definitely gonna have to be single barrel. All right, so overall, at all the levels, each of these Kirkland 1792 Barton's editions are well worth the price. I mean, there's no arguing that. Whether it is the small batch at $18.99, the Bottle and Bond at $23, or single barrel at $30, they are all well worth the price. And they all seem to fall in line with kind of the bourbon world order and the pricing order, that the small batch is the least expensive, single barrel is the most expensive, and, you know, the single barrel is the best, and small batch is also pretty good as well. But after trying these three, I'm definitely going to put the single barrel on my wander list because, man, if I can find these available, I definitely need to pick up maybe 3 or 4 more of these. The one thing that is great about the single barrel, I mean, obviously is the quality and that stuff, but again, the price puts it so you can actually drink it and not feel really guilty drinking it, and also enjoy a whiskey that is just really immensely good for the price. All right, so that's it for our Kirkland drink through for the day with the small batch, the bottle and bond, and the single barrel. Oh, sweet single barrel. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, if you like the wanders, if you like the hauls, if you like the reviews, if you like the unbottlings, the unboxings, and even now the drink throughs and all the great stuff we got cooking up for you, we have tons of more great stuff cooking up for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it does really help the channel to grow. And again, we are so thankful for that. But also, I like to think it is good for your whiskey mojo. It pleases the whiskey gods. And you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays and sort of kind of whenever they come out in between. Now, before I go, if you do find a whiskey that you love, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will. And especially in this case, might even be me. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'm out and adios.